Season 4 of South Park contains some of the funniest episodes of the series, but also features one of the show's most iconic characters.
Timmy!
Season 4 is arguably themed as the Timmy season, becoming a beloved fan favourite. Originally, his usage was only intended for a one-off gag. This changed because of how much the show creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone loved the character. They even fought the network for the right to include him as a series regular thanks to popular demand. His character development across the series is both fun and extremely unusual. In the audio commentary for Timmy's first episode, The Tooth Fairy Tats 2000, the creators expressed the difficulties implementing a character with notable disabilities.
And this was a big fight with the network, this scene.
Yeah, Comedy Central was like, no way, you cannot do a kid in a wheelchair.
Used for a throwaway gag about removing Kenny's tooth, clearly there was more material to explore with this character in mind. According to the South Park Studios website, Timmy was born with a crippling condition described as a combination of palsy and Tourette's. He suffers with a degree of bodily paralysis and a limited vocabulary, but this doesn't stop him from becoming a beloved part of the show. Parker and Stone have since spoken about how it's difficult to write a story surrounding a character with dialogue restrictions. This draws a similar comparison to Kenny, whose voice is mostly muffled throughout the show.
Oh, thank you, guys. You're welcome, Kenny.
Timmy's dialogue may be limited, but as the series went on, this was a crucial part of the character that continued to evolve. In some episodes, his voice lines vary from unexpected words reverting back to just pure gibberish.
Please help me! Timmy!
There was one phrase in particular that stuck behind the scenes, "living a lie," something Trey Parker said when performing the voice.
That does it!
This even generated a ridiculous fan theory that Timmy is just pretending to be disabled. Comedy Central was set on removing Timmy from the show, fearing audience backlash from adding the character. It was thought this would be seen as cruel and that the creators were making fun of people with disabilities, which wasn't their intention. Even though, yes, Timmy could be seen as offensive, perhaps showing how children in school can easily be discriminated against.
Mr. Garrison, haven't you figured it out? Timmy's retarded.
Don't call people names, Stanley!
His usage and the portrayal of his school life is utilized in the opposite way. Instead, the children of South Park Elementary are inclusive, acknowledging that Timmy is different but treating him like they would treat anybody else. I commend Parker and Stone for this portrayal and fighting the network executives to make him a series regular.
Timmy!
Plus, I respect how Timmy opens a dialogue for how disabled people should be treated equally regardless. Comedy Central was perhaps being overly cautious at first, but once the character received a positive response from its audience, this is where the network can be viewed as shallow.
We gotta make Timmy t-shirts and Timmy doll. The network's telling us, like, we love Timmy, you're gonna do more Timmy? And we're like, all right, we'll do more Timmy.
When there's money to be made from a popular show, oh boy do they cash in. Timmy 2000 is the official introduction to the character, appearing in Mr. Garrison's classroom as the new student. He's accused of being disruptive, where Garrison ignores the obvious disabilities. Sent to Principal Victoria, she goes along with the suggestion from school counselor Mr. Mackey that Timmy may suffer from attention deficit disorder. He's diagnosed by a doctor using estranged methods and prescribed Ritalin, which is used to treat symptoms of ADD. Timmy is exempt from doing homework, which appeals to his classmates who all pretend to have ADD.
Wait, I think maybe I have attention dysfunction disorder. Yeah, me too. I've got ADD.
Ritalin is then prescribed to the other children, which demonstrates an unusual change in their behavior.
Yeah, dude, you gotta try it. It makes you feel good.
We then cut to a struggling garage band called Lords of the Underworld who are practicing their music. We've seen these characters once before, introduced in the Cat Orgy episode from Season 3. Suddenly, they are interrupted by some unusual shouting, finding Timmy hanging around outside their garage door.
What was that? I don't know, man.
They love his contribution to their music, where he becomes part of the band by shouting his own name. When performing on stage, he is clearly enjoying the experience, but some audience members view this negatively, as though he is being exploited. The band enters and wins the opportunity to open an event called Lollapalooza, which is frequently mispronounced throughout the episode.
The band prepares for its biggest gig, Lollapalooza. Lollapalooza.
Phil Collins is parodied throughout, where he too cannot look beyond Timmy's disabilities.
I think you shouldn't laugh at people with disabilities.
He shares his unnecessary concerns, viewing the band as controversial in the public eye. I should also mention there are several moments from this season dedicated to ripping into Phil Collins. Trey Parker lost the Oscar award for Best Song in the year 2000 to Collins, where Blame Canada from the South Park movie went up against You'll Be in My Heart. Although childish, their response to this loss is hilarious the more they push on it.
Terrible to lose to Phil Collins especially.
Collins attempts to sabotage the band using the media to back his argument. He even begs Timmy's parents to stop the performance.
Richard!
For fuck's sake, I'm going to hell for laughing at that. As a last resort, he manipulates Skylar, the lead singer, suggesting that Timmy is stealing all the fame, which causes the band to split up. When the boys hear about this, they are so consumed by the behavior-changing Ritalin, they suddenly agree with Phil Collins. Timmy should remain out of the public eye where he cannot be exploited or laughed at. Fortunately, Chef sees through this and is able to fix everything. He helps create a drug called Rital-Out, which negates the effects of the Ritalin. When the children take this, they come to their senses about Phil Collins, booing him off stage in favour of Timmy. When Collins once again states that everyone is just going to laugh at Timmy, Stan's response is perfect.
The cool thing about Timmy being in a band was that he was in your face, and you had to deal with him, whether you laughed or cried or felt nothing.
Timmy's next major focus was in the two-part episode, Do the Handicapped Go to Hell? And Probably. This story explores how the Catholic Church turned the children of South Park into God-fearing followers thanks to a sermon about hell. I love the innocence expressed throughout the Sunday school scenes and how the children struggle to find reasonable explanations in what they are being told. Timmy's disability is brought into question when the boys are taught about confessing their sins in order to remain pure in the eyes of the Almighty. Since he is unable to speak beyond his own name, Sister Anne is challenged by this concept. How can Timmy confess his sins? Well, bad news for Timmy. Questioning her faith, Sister Anne contacts the Pope for clarification on this and doesn't really get a proper answer.
The priest here said that people with mental handicaps might end up in hell. Is that true?
This can be seen as hypocritical of the Catholic Church, which is made worse for the children who catch Father Maxey having sex in the confession booth. Declaring they must now save themselves and the souls of others, Cartman forms the Kids Against Hell cult. In the second part, Cartman establishes his own church and learns about performing miracles from the television. Declaring that Timmy is crippled by sin, he attempts to make him walk again by tapping his head, begging him to get out of the wheelchair. Miraculously he does, only to fall through the stage.
Yes, praise the Lord!
This is one of the few times we see him out of the wheelchair. Similarly, he is seen out of the chair in Helen Keller the musical. His range of speech starts to increase slightly, giving us one of my favourite quotes.
His name is Gobbles.
When performing a version of The Miracle Worker by William Gibson, the children decide to give the play a Thanksgiving theme. With Timmy playing the role of Helen Keller, they replace her pet dog with a pet turkey. This is where Kyle and Timmy find the challenged turkey, Gobbles, which he takes home and keeps as a pet. When training Gobbles, Timmy is sitting on the floor attempting to make the turkey do tricks. Unfortunately, this was not a recurring animal on the show, which would have been a fun continuation for Timmy to still have as a pet in later episodes. In the episode 4th grade, the children move from 3rd grade and despise their new 4th grade teacher. Hiring 2 Star Trek nerds to build a time machine, they feel this is the only plausible way to go back to the good old days. Timmy's wheelchair is used as a catalyst for time travel, which goes horribly wrong when he cannot stop accelerating. His dialogue is expanded upon, saying, "Please help me," only for the time machine to work, sending him back to the prehistoric times. One character often associated with Timmy is Jimmy Vollmer, introduced in the Cripple Fight episode. Similar to Timmy, he was not intended to be a series regular, but the creators liked him so much they moved him to South Park in the episode How to Eat With Your Butt. Jimmy suffers with cerebral palsy, similar to Timmy, but has crutches instead of a wheelchair. He is written to be an uplifting personality, sharing his talents and aspiration to be a stand-up comedian by not letting his disability hold him back. When attending Boy Scouts, Timmy bizarrely sees him as a rival at first. He becomes jealous of how Jimmy is able to make people laugh and how the other boys see this confidence as a strength. Wanting to make the most money out of their Scout bake sale, the boys ask if Jimmy will join their group, eventually becoming their friend. Timmy continues down the path of jealousy, which ultimately ends in the title conflict. Even though Timmy technically wins the fight by getting Jimmy suspended from the Scouts, he is brought back and ironically the pair become close friends. The two settled their differences off screen where they band together in the episode Crazy Cripples. This is where the gang name Crips is taken completely out of context. The pair are looking for a social group that openly accepts the disabled, and in their childlike innocence they interpret the name Crips, as in crippled, to be the answer.
We're going to pop some punk ass for blood.
In Up the Down Steroid, their friendship is put to the test where Timmy is conflicted over Jimmy taking steroids to enhance his performance in the Special Olympics. I find this episode hilarious for the cruel Cartman story, but balancing this, we see a caring side to Timmy. He shows concern for his friend's well-being and even seeks counseling with Mr. Mackey. Unfortunately, Mackey cannot understand him, which becomes all the more frustrating. Timmy would now be seen as Jimmy's sidekick, both becoming highly celebrated parts of the South Park series. We see their return in the season 14 episode Crippled Summer. Although this story is not really about Timmy, it is important for establishing other characters that would frequently interact with them both. Recycling some old concepts from season 10, the boys help Towley get a job working at a summer camp for children with disabilities. Nathan, who was previously seen in Up the Down Steroid, makes a return, now made to be Jimmy's nemesis. Nathan and his friend Mimsy work together to try and ruin Jimmy's summer out of jealousy. This is a reoccurring theme where Nathan and Mimsy target Timmy in the Handycar episode. This was made in reference to Uber taking over from your generic taxi service. Operating Handycar, Timmy successfully raises money for the summer camp, which Nathan and Mimsy sabotage. Paired with Jimmy once again, the season 21 episode Moss Piglets also brings the return of Nathan and Mimsy. Competing in the Special Ed Science Fair, the pair seek to destroy the water bear project Jimmy and Timmy have been working on. Ironically, their interference only goes to improve the project, making it more scientifically interesting. Timmy is again not a main focus as such, but is still an important presence featured in this episode.
Where the fuck did you learn about these things? Where all good scientists learn from. Octonauts! Octonauts!
As the seasons went on, Timmy's usage became less frequent. I appreciate how he was still included as a main character, with sparing, cameo-like moments that still recognized his presence. In Coon 2 Hindsight, he becomes one of the secondary superheroes, Iron Maiden, where he is supposedly indestructible. Although funny, he wasn't really given the opportunity to show off his superpowers. Therefore, in the Fractured But Whole video game, his persona was changed to a Professor X-inspired superhero simply known as Dr. Timothy. This allowed him to dominate the minds of other characters, whilst also being able to communicate using telepathy. We finally learned Timmy's surname in the season 15 episode TMI, where the names of each male student are listed on the wall outside the classroom, revealing his name to be Timmy Birch. In the post-COVID Return of COVID special, once the timeline is reset in favor of everyone except Cartman, Timmy is revealed at the end, who delivers a Tiny Tim-inspired Christmas message at the holiday party. He's walking around with very little assistance and speaking normally. Maybe there was some truth in that bizarre fan theory of him living a lie after all. In my opinion, Timmy has earned his place becoming one of the show's most beloved characters. His presence across the series has made him an icon amongst popular culture, even being referenced outside of the series. Several video games have paid homage to the character. For example, in Fallout 3, there's a dungeon full of clones named Gary, and similar to Timmy, they can only say their own name aloud. In the MMORPG World of Warcraft, there's a boss named after Timmy known as Timmy the Cruel, who yells out the iconic catchphrase with a visual speech bubble. In the 2007 video game Rock Band, there's a bonus track you can unlock called Timmy and the Lords of the Underworld, obviously in reference to the Timmy 2000 episode. And speaking of which, his influence does continue into music. Rap artist Ludacris compared himself to the character in the Missy Elliott track Gossip Folks, stating he lives loud just like Timmy. I also found it comical hearing Denzel Curry do a Timmy impression in the hip-hop track titled Vengeance. Despite the struggles getting Timmy to appear on screen, I respect Trey Parker and Matt Stone for pushing the boundaries of network censorship to be more inclusive. Timmy has clearly brought laughter and joy to a lot of fans all over the world, which is further reinforced by people still referencing the catchphrase many years later. It's a shame he's not featured too often in the later seasons, but the odd Timmy episode adds a subtle reminder that he is still a consistent part of the show's winning formula. Hopefully we will see more of Timmy in the near future. If you enjoyed this character deep dive looking at the history of Timmy Birch from South Park, be sure to leave me a like down below. Let me know what your favourite Timmy themed episode or moment is in the comments. And for more content, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, DVD Review Studios.
Are you threatening me?